Hello, hello. Good morning, afternoon, evening, or night, wherever you are, whatever time you're listening to this Sacred Spiritual Saturday video. Woo, that was a mouthful, I know. So today's my day with the kids. And, you know, these are the days I kind of like chill out. It's usually my husband's day to work. Well, we just started that schedule. Usually our schedule is changing like every couple of months or so. It's crazy. So anyway, I don't have my makeup done. I don't have my hair. I look pretty like I can tell. I'm just like, oh my gosh, black circles under my eyes. My baby girl, my 1-year-old, woke up like every other hour. It was insane. So I feel like I didn't get any rest at all. Okay, so now that I went ahead and explained that, I'm in the all natural. So what I wanted to go and talk about today was really for people that haven't really thought of that word sacred. I want to go into and briefly explain what the word sacred means. Apart from the fact that sacred means something holy, that means that it's connected with religion or God. Sacred means to have and hold high regard and respect and have reverence for something, a being, could be an item, a person, by either a religious practice or a group of people or just an individual. And that's the sacred I want to talk about right now today to kickstart this themed Saturday, sacred spiritual Saturdays off with, is to really discuss, at least from my perspective, sacred and what you should, or what I do and what I suggest others doing from what my experiences and my lessons are, you should do with things that are sacred. Okay, so I already basically went into the explanation of what that sacred is, and I'm not talking about sacred in regards to the religion. I'm talking about things that are sacred in regards to, in layman's terms, like what you hold dear and close to your heart. And that could be anything. It could be anyone. It could be your beliefs. It could be your thoughts. It could be your practices, your schedule, your children, your spouse. It could be, a friend, or however. It could be a freaking pen, It could be a freaking pen that you hold sacred to you for whatever reason, that holds, its value to that pen and the connection between you and that pen, right? And it may sound like I'm being silly or ridiculous, but I'm not. I'm very serious. Whatever it is, whoever it is, wherever it is that you feel like it's sacred to you, treat it as if that was, let's give a few different analogies and references of connection, points of connection that different people from all over can relate to, because I know not everybody's married, so maybe they don't understand the way you hold your spouse sacred, or not everybody that is single, or they may be married has kids, so maybe they don't understand the connection with having kids and holding kids sacred to you. And so we may have other things in our life that maybe not all people in our life are sacred. I know not all people that are in my life are sacred, although, it's so funny that I say that out loud and I'm saying that now. I want to have everybody that is involved in my life and that I, basically allow into my sacred space, because here's what I do hold sacred. Let me roll this one. I had to get into my mother-in-law's, car right now, because our car is out of town, we'll put it that way, and so all the kids, and it's all so quiet in the house, so I was like, let me do this in the car. So anyways, what was I talking about? Okay, sacred, my space. I consider my space, meaning like physical space, like around me, and my place in my life, my circle, my little world that I'm in, which is actually not very little, it's actually quite big. Because my life is, for me anyways, it's limitless. I'm bound by nothing here on this earth. I really am not. I don't see life as that way. Nothing for me here is like a permanency at all. Like, I don't feel that, oh, I did this thing and I have to do it because I spent this much money on it, or oh, I put so much time into that, I have to, I have to stay with that. And and now, don't get me wrong, there's one thing about commitment and sticking with things, but that's for things that, you hold sacred. So when it comes to my circle and like my world and stuff like that, like who I am now allowing into my world, you know, they're gonna have to be people that I hold very sacred to me. It can't just be anybody for whatever reason. And here's another thing that I wanted to share was, I apologize, like when I'm surrounded by just like nature and stuff, I kind of like, ooh, I like to look at it. It helps me think and talk and get out what I need to get out. So anyways, I want you to be very careful. And not just careful. Careful is probably not the best word. Oh, I forgot to turn on my do not disturb. Very slow and selective with who you share your sacred things with, who you share your sacred people with, who you share your sacred surroundings and special places with. I know sometimes I think, like for me, I feel like, well, if in order for me to keep it real, in order for me to be authentic and be true, I have to, tell people exactly, what I feel about something or what I'm thinking, or I have to be honest about certain things, which it's good to be honest, but that's not what I'm saying. What I'm trying to get to is, I feel like, I felt like, I guess anyways, I would have to like spill my guts to people, like explain myself, I guess, more or less. That's the word, is explain myself. And then I realized, you know what? That's not really helpful for me. It's not helpful for me. It doesn't always feel good. And here's why. Because things that I hold sacred and dear and near to my heart are not going to be things that other people respect and hold sacred. Okay? Just because I hold it sacred, I've come to realize that even if you do hold something sacred, and let's say you say it, let's say you say, hey, this is very special and sacred to me. Other people just, they don't get it. They don't understand. They're kind of doing their own thing, maybe caught up in their own world, and they will take that sacred thing that you have, and if you let it, they will just, either intentionally or maybe not, they will stomp all over it. And it'll seem like that, and maybe to them it's like, it's just this, it's just a pen, like what is it to you? But for you, it's like, but that pen is so sacred. And I'm keeping it very simple in regards to that, because obviously if a freaking pen can be sacred, imagine what it's like when you're sharing your thoughts, when you're sharing your heart, when you're sharing your soul, and sharing your deepest desires and dreams and secrets, right? And then somebody comes along and, one, they ridicule it, they use it as fuel or as a weapon against you. I know a few people that one of their big things is that they love to do is pull what I've told them and shared with them, right? That I opened myself up to and trusted them with them. And when there's a fight or an argument, they pull that out like a freaking sword, and they like to use it. And so I thought that, this had kind of came and gone and this person had grown out, but I had learned that this was definitely not the case. And so it got me really to thinking, like, who am I really upset at? Am I upset because I trusted somebody? Like, no, I'm not so much upset at that person, yeah, of course, you eventually get upset with, the way other people treat you and things like that. And that's the whole reason for holding your space sacred. That's why I hold my space sacred and I keep my distance, right? But you can't really be upset at a wolf for being a wolf, let's put it that way, or a horse for being a horse. It's because, I know some people will take this and run with it, but however it be, that's in your head and in your mind, right? How you take things and perceive them. You cannot blame something for being that's in its nature, right? You just can't, especially when humans can change. Let's just put it that way. Humans have the amazing magical power to change. Maybe animals do too. I don't know. I'm not no specialist on animals. Maybe they do. I know they all have personality and all that. I get it. But in regards to like the willpower and the free will to change and to kind of like, we don't really have to do things based on survival, like killing each other or, things like that. At least we're blessed not to have to do that here in this country. Again, I'm not sure how it is in some other countries where it's survival, and people do things to survive in those crazy situations. And here, you know, me being me, going off on a tangent, it's funny, I was watching this movie Alive, if any of you have ever seen it. It was about these rugby kids, this team that was flying over some mountains, I forget which mountains they were, and they got into a crash, and let's just say that in order to survive they started turning cannibal, you know, lism. So it was yeah, the things you'll do for survival, but we're not talking about that here. But anyways, back to bringing it around. You can't blame a wolf for being a wolf, right? And so when you're aware and you understand that the personality or the characteristic of somebody else is a specific way and it's a certain way, and you know basically how it's going to go down, but yet you put yourself out there expecting that something's going to be different, well, you really should be upset with yourself because of the fact that you did not hold that special thing sacred. You didn't keep it safe. You just kind of, you know, shared it with whoever, and, you know, in my opinion, it doesn't serve you. So, you know, I was also reading a post, it was from another life coach, Amanda Francis, and she also mentioned this, which was so funny. And I think it was a question, something like asked, like, well, what do you do when people ask something about, like, when she first started her business, and they're like, well, what do you do when people ask you this stuff about your business or whatever? And she was like, well, first of all, like, I say what is true, which is her truth, which is, oh, it's going great, it's going well. Even though she may have not have had clients at the time, she said it was going well, because it, you know, a business, especially with life coaching, is more than just, you know, customers and clients. It's way more. It's all kinds of things. So even though that one aspect wasn't going well, like, the majority of all her business, how her mindset was working, how she was going through the process and her experiences, it was going great. So that was her truth. That's what she would say. But she also understood that when she would speak to a person that she knew did not hold sacred what she held sacred, which was her practice, her clients, you know, her beliefs, her status of where she was at, she basically said, I didn't share that with them. I didn't share that with them because why would I allow somebody to intrude and to, you know, basically disrespect and corrupt what I hold sacred to me, right? And so I was like, that is just so true and so interesting. I looked back and I started reflecting, like, who have I been sharing things with, who I thought that I could open myself up to, who I thought would respect and hold sacred, you know, the things that I held sacred. And so I learned that. I looked back, and so there's going to be a lot of changes in regards to how even I hold myself accountable for who I share my sacred things with. And so I encourage that same for you. Don't feel like you owe anybody an explanation. Don't feel like you have to tell your, you know, like, explain yourself in order to feel like, well, if I don't explain myself, then I'm not true. Or if I don't explain myself, then I'm not, you know, being genuine, or I'm not being truthful, or I'm not being, what's that word? Transparent. There's a difference between being transparent and then just opening yourself up completely to the wrong people and the wrong sources and the wrong environments and et cetera, right? So I encourage you to look back on your life over the last, you know, year of 2017 and think about who you shared your sacred, you know, things with, your thoughts, your sacred people. Maybe you had a special friend that was sacred and you shared that with somebody or whoever, and some person just completely, you know, disrespected, you know, however that is. I actually had a situation. I'll share an example for that. Okay, so way back in the day when I was overseas working, I had two really good friends. One was a really important close friend to me, like a sister to me. But we hadn't talked in a while, but she was still, you know, we're always off and on, always had that connection, still do to this day. There's another girl I had met where I was working. We were developing a close relationship. We were hanging out. At least I thought it was close, whatever. This one girl basically did something to disrespect this other girl. I found out about it, and I was absolutely pissed because I was like, I introduced them to each other. And, you know, my one friend I held very sacred to me. And this other friend did something very, you know, I felt like just shady and inappropriate. And it is what it is, you know, I mean, like, and so I was just thinking, like, dang, like, what the hell, man? Like, that was somebody that was special to me, like somebody that was a good friend, and I introduced you and I wanted to bring that friendship to you, and then you go and do that. Like, would you do that to me? And then that gets you to thinking, if somebody does something to somebody else, what do you think they're gonna do to you? So that goes hand in hand with what I was talking about at the beginning, holding your space sacred. Hold your space sacred and realize and understand that people, who they are and what they do when they're with you, 9 times out of 10, I would say 12 times out of 10, they're probably doing the same thing to you when you're not around. That's if you're not the one that they're actually doing those things with 100% of the time. If you're hanging around people that do things that to disrespect themselves, that where they don't hold themselves sacred, that disrespect others, that they don't hold, like relationships and other people sacred, then I don't know, maybe you you might want to think about what that's saying about you and like what kind of person you are, because usually what you allow in your life is what you would allow for yourself to do and what you do. And that's basically, it's I didn't understand that when I was younger, when people say, well, be careful who you hang around, it's a representation of you. And I used to be like, she has nothing to do with me, like I'm nothing like her, I don't do things that she does, I'm not like this, she's my friend. But then I understood, like, it doesn't matter what I do or don't do, it's the perception of other people and like what they see. And if they see me hanging around somebody like that, that's doing these things that are just, they're not right, they're scandalous type of things, I mean, people are gonna think the same thing about you. So yeah, so this video went on longer than I wanted to, but I wanted to give you guys some idea for people out there that are looking like, if you want to gain your freedom, this is one of the things like for me, my lessons is to understand what is sacred to you, what you hold sacred, and how you should take care of those things that are sacred. You need to give it care. You need to keep that stuff loved. You need to keep it protected and share it with the right people. Open yourself up. Yes. Share your thoughts and ideas. Yes. Do it to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. But do it and share it with people that understand and are on the same path as you, and that would understand what you're holding sacred, because they hold maybe the same things, the same virtues, the same people, the same environments, whatever, sacred as well. So hopefully that helps you. I know that was a lesson that I had learned, especially just as soon as recently. And so, I hope you all have a great day, morning, evening, night, wherever you are in this world, wherever you're watching. Be kind to yourself, and please be kind to others, especially to others. And try something new today and see where it takes you. Okay? You all have a very special, blessed, sacred, spiritual Saturday. I think for the next Saturday, I'll kind of go back and forth, because I really couldn't decide if I wanted to do sacred Saturdays or spiritual Saturdays. And I was like, well, what about sacred spirit? So that kind of sounds cool. Sacred spirit Saturdays. Maybe we'll do it that way. And we'll, I'll talk about different things that are, from, things that are sacred to the spiritual, side of things as well. So, okay, guys, love you. Mwah. Have a great day. Or evening. It's day here. I will talk to you guys later. Bye.